Alright, so we are going to make another Diablo video, mainly because that's pretty much all I've been playing right now. I love the new expansion, and I love the new post-endgame activities they have. And don't mind my air conditioner being on in the background. It's like mid-90s, and I'm hairy, so kind of sweat a lot. But that is not why we're here right now. We're here to play Diablo 4. And another thing I did after, my Paladin, for instance, that Paladin video I did, that Paladin's doing great. He's in Torment 7, going on Torment 8. He's doing about 14, 15 million a hit, so he's doing pretty good. And I'm pretty much done with him. I went back to my Barbarian. Some of you may remember I deleted the videos because I was attacked by the Diablo community viciously on those videos, telling me that I needed to uninstall the game and shoot myself because my build was so bad. It actually wasn't a bad build. I had a really good Barbarian. The problem is, when they updated everything, they changed all the skills and they sent my Barbarian back to 0, essentially. So I had to find new equipment and basically make a new build altogether. So I figured, what the heck, I'm done with the Paladin for now, at least for the time being, so why don't I go back and try to make my Barbarian decent. So that's what I did. I loaded up my Barbarian, went through the expansion with him, and I've got him pretty decent. I mean, he can hold his own on Torment 5. He can actually confidently go through Torment 6 now, too. It's just that Torment 6, they're a little bit spongy, and I still have to build up my strength a little bit, so I just sort of sit on Torment 5 for now. So I'm going to show you basically what I've got here before I, show you how well he's doing. Now, I kept him very similar to my build that I had originally in those original videos. If you're one of my old subscribers, you remember all the videos I made of this character. He's basically a Frenzy Barbarian, which is the kind of Barbarian I play in Diablo 2 all the time because I'm simple and basic. So I go with Frenzy, and I just basically go for anything that increases the speed, the stacks, and the damage. So I go for Frenzy stacks, I go for Ferocity, and I go for the extra damage for the fiery explosions. For a while I was, actually wouldn't be that bad, I'm thinking, to change it into a ranged attack. But the thing is, I'm actually using this as my ranged attack, or no, not Hammer of the Ancients. I'm using Death Blow as my ranged attack because this is my bread and butter move with this build. I don't know if they changed it, but there's this really cool ability in the expansion now where you can make Death Blow a ranged attack, and it does 7 million damage. The shockwave that comes out. So it's really funny that the actual melee damage of Death Blow is 3.6 million, but the shockwave that it creates is 7.5 million. So what I've been doing is I've been using it as a sort of like as a ranged attack, essentially. So what I do is I take Overpower, because you build up a lot of Overpower with your other moves, and then I take the one that gives it an extra 2 charges, or actually extra charge to make it 2, and then I do the shockwave. And then to make it even better, I have a fix on one of my pieces of equipment right here, where your weapon mastery skills stun enemies, and it also gives your weapon mastery skills like Death Blow an extra charge. So now you have 3 charges of Death Blow. And I also have that one, I don't know where it is, it's somewhere where if you kill somebody with Death Blow, you actually refund your charge. So because this thing is doing, Death Blow does so much damage and it's a ranged attack, it's extremely unlikely that you won't refund that charge. So essentially what I'm doing with this build is I'm spamming Death Blow. You'll see when I go to a Nightmare dungeon and show you what it's like. You can basically spam Death Blow, because you're going to have 3 charges, and I think I just heard my phone go off, but, well, too bad. You basically have 3 charges, and they're going to refund every time you kill somebody. And since it has such high damage and such a very large area of effect, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be killing somebody. So I've been spamming that. And if I do run out of death blows, what I do is I use Hammer of the Ancients, which is not as strong, true, but it's nice if you get surrounded by a lot of enemies. I just took the explosive passive for the more damage. The other size and damage bonus, of course, no brainer. And the one that does more damage if you have an overpowered charge. So, you know, that's good. And the rest I just take buffs. I take War Cry and have Wrath of the Berserker as my ultimate because that really jacks up the damage quite a bit. And I take Rallying Cry too. What I like about Rallying Cry is I might get rid of this because I probably don't need the Fortify. So I might update this build later and you might see me taking something else because I don't really think I need Rallying Cry to Fortify anymore since... Let me show you. I have a... there's one ability where every time I... Oh yeah, it's on my Paragon board. There's one Paragon ability I have that I got. Let me show you.
More loyal friends you'll not find.
Every 300 Fury I spend, I get fortified, but there was something else. Because I know there's... anytime I do damage with Death Blow, I can't even find this. This is how unprepared I am to make this video. People made fun of some of my other build videos because, you know, I go off the cuff like this. And they're like, this is the most ridiculous build video of all time. Yeah, that's why. I'm just a 50-year-old dude making spurgy videos. If you're coming here for, you know, something professional, buddy, you ain't gonna get it. But... you know, essentially, I build up enough of, enough Fortify just through, you know, using my basic abilities. And another thing I should mention is, the weapon that I use for Death Blow, I try to make it a polearm. You see how I have a polearm here? Because I picked polearm expertise. And the reason I do that, it's the only one that has just basic flat unconditional damage. You deal an extra 15% increased damage while you're healthy. And you have a 15% increased lucky hit chance. So it's like the only one here that has an unconditional flat damage buff. All the other ones are conditional. So I try to go with polearm, even if the polearms are a little weaker. And I put diamonds on there for the damage multipliers. Yeah, here we go. Now... you notice on my pants here, I have a thing. I use the ability where anytime you use a weapon mastery skill, and Death Blow is one of them, it fortifies you for 5% of your maximum life and increases your maximum life by 44%. So all I have to do is, since I'm going to be spamming Death Blow all the time anyway, I might as well get something for it. That's my idea. So... what I do is I just spam Death Blow, build up Fortify, and clear out entire rooms with it. If enemies get too close, then I throw down a Hammer of the Ancients or something. Now, one thing I noticed with this build is because you're a Frenzy build, you don't really have to worry too much about weapon speed, because the highest stacks of Frenzy are so fast. You don't really need weapon speed. I do have a little bit, and that's only so that my other skills, such as my Death Blow and that, actually activate faster than usual. That's the only reason I go with a little bit of speed. I'll go through my imprints on all my equipment. I took the one where you increase Fortify generation and have damage reduction during Fortify, because we're going to be constantly fortified with this build, because everything hinges on Death Blow, and Death Blow fortifies you, so you're going to constantly be fortified. I go, you gain the extra total armor, but your evade has a longer cooldown. That's such an easy one, because who honestly evades very often in this game? Come on. Tank that damage, man. I go with the damaging an enemy with the basic skill, grants you more attack speed, but the more important thing is it sends you into that Vampiric Blood Rage, which gives you 50% extra basic skill damage. Now see, I like to rely on my Death Blow, but eventually you will run out of Death Blow charges, and sometimes you may even run out of Fury. So it's nice to have that Berserking Fury Frenzy stack thing working, because then your basic attack can actually do some serious damage. This Barbarian's basic attack, when he's at the highest point of Frenzy, can do about 4 million damage. So I mean, it's pretty decent, and he attacks very quickly. So you can actually go through most bosses just using a basic attack if you really want. I need new boots. These boots on this character suck. I need an Ancestral. What I try to do is I try to get Ancestral legendaries like this. I got a really good roll there, except for the cold resistance. I didn't need that. But, yeah. You know, just basically go for damage. It's real simple stuff here. I use my two-handed mace for the Hammer of the Ancients, so when I have an overpowered charge, my bludgeoning attacks deal 110% extra damage. I go with basic skill buffs on my one-handed swords. For the Frenzy mode, go for a Berserking buff that does an extra 55% damage. My favorite thing to get is, while fortified, you deal more damage. I put that on my amulet to get a 50% boost. It actually has a higher ceiling if put on a piece of jewelry, so that's why I put that there. On my ring, I have skills deal up to 55% increased damage based on your available primary resource. So essentially with that is, I try to build up my resource first when I get into a dungeon. And then when I get into a dungeon and have all my resource built up to max, then I start spamming Death Blow. Because if my resource is maxed, if I have maximum Fury, my Death Blow is going to do an extra 55% damage right there. My Death Blows will do anywhere from 14 to like 25 million damage, and that's area of effect. You'll see when I get into a dungeon and start fighting stuff what this does. And I might change this, but on my other ring I have that each point of Fury you generate increases your damage. This bonus is lost after 4 seconds. You're going to be attacking so often, it's, you know, it's free damage. I may put something else there, but for the time being, you know. Now, when it comes to affixes, I try to look for basically the same stuff as my Paladin in my other build video. I go for damage. I go for resistance to all elements, life, and strength. Very simple. You know, I try to get ancestral legendaries like this. I got really lucky with this one because this item actually wasn't an ancestral legendary. It was a normal legendary. But when I went to Temperate, I selected damage and it randomly turned ancestral. I know. I actually didn't know that could happen. I don't know if that's something new in the expansion or what. But, you know, whatever. I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. As far as seals, I haven't really done much yet. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get... I'm thinking I might get Secheron's Fury, because it makes you attack slower, but there's such a huge damage increase. At level 2, there's 120% increased damage. And then, let me see. And then at level 5, there's another 200% increased damage, but that's ancient skills, so that doesn't apply to everything. I was also thinking of getting Bull Kathos, the Bloodletter, because I do have bleed on my Berserker abilities. I might actually go with... Which one was the one that had the Fury? For the... yeah, I might go with Crucible, because Crucible does all that extra berserking damage, and that would make my normal attack that much stronger. So that's why this isn't really an official build video. I'm not like putting a fancy thumbnail on it, being like, oh, this is the build. I'm just showing you where my guy is right now. I'm still kind of feeling things out, because, you know, they changed a lot about the Barbarian. So it's a very different experience than what I was playing, 2 years ago when I think this game came out. Alright, so let's go to a Nightmare Dungeon and I'll show you guys what it's all about. I do like this character. There's definitely a lot of work I have to do on him because, you know, my Paladin's like on Torment 7 going into Torment 8, and this guy's still kind of stuck in Torment 5 for the time being. Now, the first thing I like to do is build my Frenzy out. Now, you see I'm doing 4 or 5 damage just with 4 to 5 million damage with a normal attack. I mean, you could sit here and just build up your Frenzy until you're doing like 4 or 5 million. But I just like to build that, I just like to build the Fury up to get the damage bonus, and then I just start spamming Death Blow. See how that is? You can just spam it. As long as you kill something, you'll get the charge refunded. And there's very few things, until you get to like Torment 7, there's very few things right now that are actually able to survive one Death Blow. That's like 16 million damage, 20 million damage. And of course I left a few. I hate these dungeons where you have to destroy enemies to open up a door. Like this is friggin' Legend of Zelda or something. But basically, you see what I'm doing. What you do is you build up maximum fury and you're basically spamming Death Blow. And as long as you kill something, one of your 3 charges is refunded. So you basically have 3 chances to kill an enemy with Death Blow. And as long as you do, you can continue using it indefinitely through the dungeon. Now you could, if you wanted to, let me show you, this might get boring to some people, so we could just use frenzy attacks, build up maximum frenzy, and then start doing Hammer of the Ancients, because you notice that actually does, at full frenzy, that does like 28 million damage sometimes. This is also another thing, if you just want to be like more melee focused and you just want to get up in enemies' faces. So I mean that's a thing that you could do. You could just attack enemies melee with your frenzy, build it up to maximum charge, and then hit your Hammer of the Ancients, which technically might actually do more damage because you're at maximum fury stacks, and you actually out damage your Death Blow. But you know, that's what I love about this build I'm doing, is that it gives me a lot of options. Things that I can do, ways that I can beat an enemy. And I just absolutely destroyed these dudes. So you see with this build, I mean, he can, like I said, I can go on Torment 6, and he doesn't really have that much of a problem. Here, I'll show you. I could probably go up to Torment 7 with this guy, but unlike my Paladin, he doesn't really have the damage potential yet. My Paladin is doing, you know, 30, 40 million damage with normal attacks at this point, and he's on about to go into Torment 8. So, we'll get there with this guy, eventually. I'll show you Torment 6. Now, sometimes if enemies are a little bullet spongy, you know, they have too many hit points, what I like to do is just start attacking them with my melee attacks, my frenzy, and then hit them with the hammer of the ancients. Because, like I said, at maximum fury stack, it actually kind of out damages Death Blow a little bit. So if you need that extra oomph, you can do that. And another thing I love is because in most of my equipment, I have life on hit. That's another thing I should mention to you guys who want to repeat this build. Is I have a lot of life on hit fixes on my equipment, and because Frenzy hits so incredibly fast, you can regain a lot of life. So if you have enemies on the higher torment levels that are doing like sickening damage to you, you can kind of out damage them, or you know, sort of like a battle of attrition in a way. You're just able to heal so much more damage than they can cause on you. So even if they are more powerful than you, it doesn't really matter because you're healing so much health.
Curse this place. I am fucked.
See how fun this guy is? I mean, he's really... It's really fun. I actually like the changes they've made to this game, and I'm a big Diablo fan now. I mean, I've always been a Diablo fan, but I really think they've done some amazing changes to Diablo 4 to make it a really fun game. It's a nice change of pace from Path of Exile, because I was playing Path of Exile 2 for a while, and that game just stresses me the hell out.
Quite the challenge.
Keep in mind, this whole dungeon, I have not used my death... Okay, we'll use my death blow. There we go. I hadn't used death blow a single time. So what I love about this build is you can use death blow and just use that in the dungeon, or you can get up in people's faces, build up maximum frenzy charges, and then just unleash your Hammer of the Ancients on them, and it's the same effect. I think it's probably more fun to, like, do the Hammer of the Ancients thing. But you have options. You have options. It's good to have in case, let's say you're in a situation where you run out of death blow charges. So you have, at least because you have the Hammer of the Ancients and the Frenzy on your character, it's like a nice backup, so you can always revert back to that if you need to. What I love about this build I made is that it's nice that if one thing doesn't work or you're in trouble and you can't do one thing, you have a completely different way of attacking that you can use. See, that guy actually stunned me and I couldn't move, and I had to kill the enemy that was creating a shield around him, so I shot my death blow and killed the enemy and lowered his shield. So you see how that works? Death blow is nice to have, even if you don't want to use it too much with this build, it's nice to have as a ranged attack. Just keep in mind that try not to use your Hammer of the Ancients until your Frenzy is at maximum and your Fury is at maximum, because you're going to have a much stronger attack if you're at maximum charges and maximum resource. I'm really curious to see how far I can push this character and how far I can get them. 81 million fully buffed. That's crazy. So there you go. I mean, that's this build. I mean, it's pretty good. Like I said, it's basically simple. You're just building up your Death Blow and your Frenzy abilities, and using the Frenzy and the Maximum Fury to fuel a constant spamming of your Death Blow. That's it. Very simple. And, you know, I don't know if I showed this, but the Paragon boards I'm using, let's see, I'm using the one that increases your berserking damage. Very simple. I'm using the one that gives you Fortify when you spend Fury, because you're going to be spending a lot of it if you, and you're only really going to be spending Fury if you do the overpower thing. Okay, if you do, you're using overpower with your Hammer of the Ancients, because that's going to eat up a lot of Fury. So that's the only time this is going to factor into it. But it's nice to have that easy Fortify regeneration. And I'm also going to pick this up too, which is consecutive attacking with the same weapon. Increases your critical strike chance and your critical strike damage, which, you know, this is going to feed my Berserker Frenzy ability. So, pretty basic. When I get this build more solidified, you know, I'll make a build video, but I'm just basically going through how he is right now. I need to get better boots because my boots suck. I have some equipment that I'm actually working on. Right here I have some items I'm working on, like these boots I might actually do something with. I dropped a ancestral glove, and I've been moving that up, which will eventually replace the current gloves I have. So, you know, it's basic build. You know, I keep it pretty easy. I have to say I really do like Diablo 4. I'm not getting paid to say that. I really love the post-game changes they've made. I've been playing that more than anything. I'm very close to beating Dragon Quest VII Reimagined, and yet here I am playing Diablo 4. So, yeah, very good game. This is my Barbarian build, and you know, before we leave, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. I don't really care about the mercenaries too much. Some people think mercenaries actually do add to a build. I haven't really bothered with it much. So I guess for mercenaries, just pick whoever you want to use, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't matter. And the activities bonuses. Now, I like anything where something spawns, like extra portals or treasure goblins. So I try to go for things where I get extra enemies, and that just means more drops, you know. So, there you go. That's my Barbarian build. It's not finished yet. He can go about Torment 6, so he's like, you know, halfway there. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe it gave you some ideas, or I just bored the hell out of you. But either way, have fun, play more Diablo 4, and I will see you guys later.